Welcome to this week's edition of This Week in Wisconsin Prep Hockey. I'm Mike Hammett along with the rest of the boys, and we've got all kinds of stuff to tell you about. We'll get to that shortly, but Del Scanlon, what's this? I hear you brought a guest this week.
Well, we're lucky enough to have Mark Thorn, the head coach for the Onalaska Hilltoppers girls hockey team, and also the Wisconsin Girls Hockey Coaches Association president. And with that, thank you for joining us this evening, Mark.
Well, thanks for having me, guys. It's a pleasure to be with you.
So, Mark, let's jump right in and see biggest difference you're seeing this starting this season compared to last.
We're playing, and we're playing in front of an audience. That's the biggest difference. And joking aside, it is nice to be back in the arenas and seeing people in the stands and seeing the kids having some fun.
As a coach and seeing how the kids react to the fans being in the stands, do you see more energy from the players on the ice?
Oh, absolutely. The players feed off the crowd, and the crowd feeds off the energy that the players have out there. And it is fun and exciting to be having everybody back together. I apologize. I'm in my office at the rink, so if you hear some strange noises, it's right next to the locker room. So we were scheduled with a late night practice tonight, and that's a key example right there. We have the opportunity to use our locker rooms, where last year it was 15 minutes in the rink and 15 minutes afterwards. Now we get more time to do some instruction and teaching the kids, more time to really get to know them and build a team culture. And, I think that's what a lot of the programs have experienced.
And so I would think that would lead to the camaraderie among the team being better too.
Well, I think, in fact, it's interesting you mentioned that. We had our leadership meeting tonight, and they were talking about team bonding exercises because, you got a whole new class of people coming in and that remember what it was like 2 years ago. The class last year didn't have as much. This class has no idea. So, how do you build that team culture when you do have more time together? And I think that's a learn as you go. And I don't think that's something the coaches teach as much as the players bring together themselves.
One thing I've noticed this year is looking at the coaches list, you have a lot of new coaches this year.
Yeah, we have, I want to believe we have about 12 new coaches, a little more than 40% of new coaching staff at all the girls programs. And at the beginning of the year, we held a informational meeting and we talked about what are some of the responsibilities that those coaches have. And, for me, one of the big things is to participate with Wisconsin Prep Hockey. Get your scores in, score live if you can, or if not, within 24 hours, get that score sheet up there. It's just, people are interested all across the state. They want to know who the good players are and how the teams are doing. And, we really emphasize that in our meetings. We also emphasize the role that the WIA has and the responsibility that they have to rate the officials 24 hours after a game and, make sure that we're getting the quality officiating down at the state, at the playoff level and at the state tournament.
I'm glad you brought up the WIAA. That lets us segue into the change there. Have you, what conversations have you had with Lamar, the new person in charge of hockey?
Well, I've actually had several conversations with Lamar, and believe it or not, Lamar and I come from pretty close backgrounds. I grew up in Milwaukee. He was over by Shorewood, so we had a little bit in common there. He's new to the hockey environment, and so I think he's going to take let's learn and feel out the process, see what's working and what isn't. I know Tom Shafransky's still going to help guide him in some areas in and around that, but he's going to be looking for how he can improve the game. And that can be anything from the rules to the playoffs themselves. How do we do that? The biggest thing that he committed to me anyways was communication, where in the past, it seems like the WIA and the Coaches Association were always operating on separate wavelengths. And, he committed that he wants to be part of that. And he actually sat down with it for an interview with Dan Bauer, who was on our board. And, Dan wrote a nice article for the coaches based on the questions that we were asked. So he was very open and forthcoming with his answers. And I think that was a great first step in helping provide the lines of communication.
One of the other things that I've noticed this year is the sectional have changed a little bit with where the teams have been located. And you've actually been moved over to sectional 2 is what it calls, but basically it was what was sectional 1 last year or in the previous years.
Yeah, I wonder who I pissed off in order to make that happen. But I say that jokingly because I also understand the role and the responsibility of having a 28 team tournament in being able to make sure that distance is an appropriate thing. And in the past, we were always part of section 3, which covered all the way from Rock County all the way up here, which is 3 hours. And it's one of those areas that I got it. I understood why they did it, and you roll with it. And what I've really enjoyed in looking at the new section that we're going to be in is that this section beats each other up pretty darn good all the way through the regular season. And usually they're very well playoff prepared. So that's the approach that we're taking going into this. We got our first sectional game tomorrow night against the Chippewa Falls Sabres, and we're looking forward to it.
I'm going to open this up and see if William or Bergler got some questions, or even MJ.
I like what you said about getting those scores in.
Well, it is important because, when you're sitting on a bus ride, I like to look at what the scores are, how people are doing.
Right.
And, it's a great way for coaches to do some scouting. You don't get necessarily the game film or, now Live Barn's available and everything, but, stats can help paint a pretty good picture. So I just think it's appropriate that we take that responsibility seriously. And, I know Del, you helped put my stuff together with the team and the scheduling, and we extended that offer to the players. And I think everybody's got their schedules up and running.
Yeah, the schedules are in pretty good. I had a couple coaches that had reached out a little bit late, but as what anybody on the staff is willing to help anybody with any of their questions that they have with it. But another question that I wanted to get your viewpoint on, Mark, as a coach, and this is kind of for the fans out there. They see the score box and they see what offensive players are doing on the ice, but the part that gets neglected is a defensive player out there. Can you kind of give us an idea as to what a coach is looking for with his defensive players?
Well, you're absolutely right. From a defensive point of view, the defense that are going to be the ones that are going to be recognizable are those that are offensive minded. They're the ones that are going to score points. But, for myself and what I look for the defensive players are, really not only the effort, but what are they doing to create havoc, disrupt things. And last week I nominated Kaya, and part of it wasn't the stats that she demonstrated in the game against the Storm. It was the defensive presence of how she was able to help hold down their scores. So I think that's the other side of it, is that if you're going up against a team that, is putting up 5, 6, 7 goals a night, and you hold them to 2 or 3, you better be pretty proud of your defense that they did a good job, and not just the goalie. I mean, the goalie is a big part of it. And as a goalie, we like that recognition, but your defensive players did their job as well.
Well, I'm sure as a coach that you would prefer to see your goalie only face maybe 15 shots a game, where your other players are blocking those shots and making it go wide and limiting the shots on the goalie.
Yeah, and that's correct. That's one of the stats that I know we personally keep as we have a list of 10 different objectives that if we score in the positive side of 7 or more, we got about an 80% chance of winning. And a lot of it comes down to block shots on defense, and then not allowing scoring in the first minute of the period or the last minute of the period.
I can tell you,
Go ahead, MJ.
boy, Mark, I can tell you that watching hockey at all levels, but especially at the high school level, maybe a little bit at the junior level, is when you see the kids that they come out to like block a shot, you got the guy with their or girl with their head down to shoot that puck. They're not even looking at what they're shooting at. How many times you've seen it go off that defender and, races on the other way?
Yeah, it certainly does. And in fact, we've talked on our bench that anytime that one of our players blocks a shot, all the team should be standing up cheering, because you want that kind of enthusiasm that it is just as important to block the shot as to sometimes score.
And block shots are a great reason not to put forwards on the blue line on the power play.
Yeah.
The forward on the blue line on a power play is going to shoot it into some shin pads.
Absolutely.
Because a lot of times the kids just want to get the shot off and they're not even have their head up to look and see that, there's somebody about 2 feet from them and there's absolutely no angle to go at.
Well, and I think some of that is that's the way they've been taught. If you're a defensive player in the zone and you're coming off the wall, you're automatically thinking, boy, if I shoot this, I'm going to have a chance to score. But what they're not seeing is that there's not only a forward, a defender, and a goalie that's all staring right at them that can block that. So, that's the big thing that we're trying to stress is having your head up, look for where that open man is and where that open lane is. And if you don't have it, don't take the shot.
Bad things can happen.
Yep.
If nobody else has any more questions, I'll go ahead and thank Mark for joining us this evening. You're welcome to stick around if you want, Mark. I'm sure you got some other things you need to get done yet this evening. And thanks for taking the time and coming online with us.
Thank you, guys. I do. We actually have practice till 9 o'clock. Like I said, every third Monday, we're the late practice. So we have practice going on right now in preparation for our game tomorrow. And I just wanted to say thank you to all you guys for what you do. And at times it may not seem like you get the appreciation that you do, but if I can do anything with the Girls Coaches Association, just reach out and let me know. Okay.
Okay. Thanks, Mark.
Thanks, Mark.
Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.
Mark Thorn joining us tonight. We need to sponsor our guest segment of the program.
Are you saying that someone needs to sponsor us having a guest?
Yeah, why not?
So they've put it's the Radisson of Madison, Fitchburg, Wisconsin Prep Hockey guest of the week.
Either that or go national with it. Have Flo from Progressive bring the guest on or something.
Who would be a great sponsor if you're listening? The Wisconsin Tourism Board. We'll pick our game of the week and you tell us what's going on in that area and we'll talk all about it.
That's a good point.
All right. Moving on.
Let us not digress. All right. We got other things we're going to talk about. I believe we're going to talk about games of the week next, as I've kind of lost my spot here.
Yes, we are.
Okay. Well, we did have games of the week, and
well, we had one.
We had one.
Oh, that's right. The other one.
The weather took care of it.
The weather took care of it. Right. Okay. Games of the week.
Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, sometimes it rains.
Very good. Okay. Well, what did you guys have for the games of the week?
Burglar and I made another trip down to Stevens Point 2 weeks in a row. I can't say I've ever gone to Stevens Point 2 weeks in a row on purpose before. This time we checked out the Tomahawk Hatchets and the Stevens Point Pacelli Co-op. In the 4 games we've seen this season, that was probably the best game of hockey we've seen. It was actually really, really fun. Out of 2 teams that most people probably wouldn't have expected, but evenly matched, really good game. No scoring in the first period. Tomahawk did outshoot Pacelli 10-5 in that first period, but it didn't really feel that way. It didn't feel like they doubled them up on shots. It was really close, and both teams had some good scoring chances, but weren't able to capitalize. But Tomahawk finally cracked the board 48 seconds into the second period. Zach Frisky picked up their first goal, and then it stayed 1-0, really tight. A lot of back and forth action, but it was really tight for the next 8 minutes, and then all hell broke loose. Pacelli picked up 3 goals in the span of 2.5 minutes. Just like bang, bang, bang. The first goal at 8:38 by Balin. I can't pronounce that last name. I'm not even going to try. And then at 11:02 and 11:11, Mason Zielinski scored 2 goals, both of them right off of faceoffs. He scored off a faceoff in the offensive zone, and then on the ensuing faceoff at center ice, he picked up the puck, raced down the other end, and scored again to put Pacelli up 3-0. But it didn't stay that way long. By 2.5 minutes after that, Tomahawk had tied it back up. Everybody was just flying around the ice, despite the fact that neither team was particularly big. Their hits were flying. It was really fun. Pacelli took the lead just about 2 minutes left in the period. Tomahawk tied it up with about halfway through the third, and it went to overtime where Zielinski was able to cap off the hat trick for the winner. That was a really fun game. I think that's the kind of game that people think of when they think of that romantic notion of Division II hockey, like small school hockey. This isn't Hudson or Notre Dame Academy or Eau Claire Memorial, one of those teams that are like 3 lines deep and, all that. Were like these were 2 good, hard playing small school teams that played the best game I've seen this year. It was really fun to watch.
Yeah, a couple of observations to that game. Didn't realize that Tomahawk was not part of the Northern Edge Girls Co-op that has most of the rest of the northern schools in it. Tomahawk, their 3 girl hockey players are on this team, and one of them was starting defenseman.
Yeah, Scout Stromberg is on their first D pair.
Yeah, Scout. I'm sure she has a brother named Jem, and her dad's probably Atticus. But she played well. The coach pointed out that she has very high hockey IQ, moves the puck well. And whatever the coach said during the first intermission to the Tomahawk players, they came out to start the second period like their hair was on fire. I mean, they were just all over the ice. They put 23 shots on in that second period, and a lot of it was just like a shot and then 3 rebounds because they were all just buzzing the net. It was a very, very entertaining game. Like you said, 2 evenly matched teams playing hard with enthusiasm, and just a very entertaining game.
Yeah, Tomahawk did not look like a team that won, I think, a combined 1 game over the last 2 seasons. And I mean, they matched that total this year. Their first game of the season, they beat East Merrill 8-1. But yeah, over the last 2 seasons, they had won 1 game, I believe. They did not look like a team that did that. I mean, obviously, if they were playing against, some of the other teams in the state, it wouldn't have gone that way. But that was a damn good hockey game.
All right. Well, let's see what else we got here. We got the Wyndham Garden Madison Fitchburg Players of the Week. And Del, it's your turn this week to hand out the honors. Who are our boys and girls players of the week?
This week. Our player of the week had 26 saves and a 5-4 win over Bayport. On Friday, he had 31 saves and a 1-0 win over Arrowhead. And then on Saturday, he had 15 saves and a 4-0 win over Fond du Lac. And our Wyndham Garden Madison Fitchburg Player of the Week for the boys is Lincoln Simons, the goaltender for Ashwaubenon. And with that, we'll move down to the girls' player of the week. On Monday, she had 4 goals and a 6-1 win over the Badger Lightning. And then on Friday, she had 1 goal that was a shorthanded goal and a 2-0 win over Rock County. And our girls' player of the week is Keegan Sanderfoot, a forward from the Cap City Cougars. And those are our Wyndham Garden, Madison Fitchburg players of the week. And with that, I'll toss it over to William for the top 6s.
Sure thing. Surprising nobody. Hudson is number 1 on the boys D1 again, although they were not unanimous this week. Notre Dame moves up 1 spot to 2nd. Nina drops 1 spot to 3rd. Eau Claire Memorial is 4th. Madison Edgewood is 5th, and Verona is 6th. Division 2, Oregon moves up 1 spot into the number 1 spot this week. St. Mary Springs drops down 1 to 2nd. Amory moves up 2 spots to 3rd. New Richmond was not ranked last week. They move into the 4th spot. Homestead drops 1 to the 5th spot, and Rice Lake drops 3 to the 6th spot. St. Mary Springs actually had more first place votes than Oregon did, but Oregon had the higher overall point total. The girls, same 6 teams as last week, different order. Metro Lynx are still number 1. Bay Area moves up 1 to 2. Central Wisconsin drops 1 to 3. Western Wisconsin moves up 1 to 4. Fox Cities drops 1 to 5, and Hudson is still 6th. So not a lot of movement. 1 new team in the rankings this week. New Richmond moved in. They got votes last week, but they weren't actually in.
Well, that means tomorrow night up there at Green Heck Arena, you'll have on the girls' side, the number 2 Bay Area Ice Bears taking on the Central Wisconsin Storm. And unfortunately, that won't be our game of the week because we just did the Storm as a game of the week here a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, they were our first game of the week of the season.
And we try to spread that around so we get different teams in there. What do you see in the D2? I mean, we should see Oregon moved up and New Richmond moved in from being unranked. Homestead, their standings right now are looking pretty good.
I think all those teams look pretty good right now. Oregon, obviously, they
Score a lot.
We've been given MJ crap about this all week, but they were down 7-2 to Janesville earlier in the week, and they came back and won that game 9-8, and they won it with 1 second left on the clock. Like, I mean, just to come back from down 7-2 is something, but then to just win it with 1 second left on the clock, that's amazing.
Junior, let me tell you something. Look, I watched that second period of that whole game. I watched that whole second period, and you could just see the whole tide of the game changing. You could see all of a sudden 7-3. Well, they got a little jump on their skates, 7-4. They never quit. And next thing you knew, at the end of 2 periods, it was 7-5. It's like, you know what? We still got quite a game here. And give them credit. They came back and they won, and 1 second left, and I guess it was when a guy got sprung out of the penalty box. He was able to go in and score. So, people I've talked to said it was a wild and crazy game. It was a great game to be at, but wow. I mean, 9-8. We're expecting baseball scores like that.
But you know what? To Janesville's credit, after you lose a heartbreaker like that, one that you had that lead, to come back later in the week and top Sun Prairie the way they did, you got to give the team a lot of credit for being able to come back like that, because that could really harm a team at times.
I'll tell you what, I was at that game, and Sun Prairie took it to them in the first period, but somehow Janesville came out with a lead after 1. It was like 2-1, but it was a really good game again. Sun Prairie, in typical Sun Prairie style, they just bring it every shift. They're out there and they're just flying around the ice and trying to get scoring opportunities or playing defense, whatever they need to do at the time. But Sun Prairie is very workmanlike, and they played a good game, a good conference road game. They just came up a little bit short. But guys, speaking of road games, I was looking up here. I just got on the page of Verona, the Verona Wildcats. We see them sitting at number 6, but we've also seen Wanakee light up the scoreboard this year. And those two teams are going to meet next Tuesday. Let me get here to Wanakee's page. Wanakee is 5-1. And, they're going to have Milton tonight. Well, they're going to be heavy favorites in that. But this is a team that scores a lot of goals. And let's see, McCarthy Reed's their leading scorer. Their scorers, they got Reed, Reddig, and Emmerich, 21, 20, and 18. I mean, those guys put up some points. So maybe this is a team that we keep an eye on. Because
21 points in 6 team games is fairly impressive.
Well, I'm trying to find. There it is. Who all they've played. Here we go. Beat Middleton 4-3. Lost to Fond du Lac 6-5. Beat U School 4-2. Beat DeForest 10-0. Beaver Dam 10-1. And beat Stoughton 10-0. Not the strongest of the last 3, but you still got to put up goals. And let's see, that's 30, 34, 39. That's 43 goals. Yeah. In 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games. You're going to win some games when you're scoring that many goals. They got Milton and McFarland this week, but next Tuesday night is that next Tuesday night? Yes. They are home against Verona. And that's two teams that should be a pretty good game.
Yes.
Just throwing it out there.
So we know where MJ is going to be next Tuesday.
Home in bed. I go back to work next week. I got to start earning a living again. What do we got for upcoming games of the week?
On Thursday, I'll be making a trip down to the Madison Ice Arena to see the Rock County Fury take on the Metro Lynx and battle in the Badger Conference.
And then on Saturday, for the boys' side, Amory against Lakeland.
Yep.
Yeah, a couple of unbeaten teams right now. Anyway, I mean, something could happen between now and then, but Amory is in our top 6 at number 3 in Division 2. Lakeland has been kind of in and out of the top 6 the last couple of seasons, and let's say they're unbeaten so far this year. So it could be a good game.
You know what I like about Amory is they're always promoting their team. I mean, they got Twitter. I mean, they hit up Twitter all the time. They're out there promoting their team constantly, what their team is doing. It's great to see. I've noticed it, and it's a way to be able to keep up on the team. So hats off to Amory for doing that.
I was just on Twitter trying to find updates for Oregon and Edgewood, who are playing right now. And I don't have a live tweet account for either of those teams, but like if I want to know what Amory's doing, it's always going to be out there.
Yep. All it takes is like a student manager or somebody. I mean, even when Janesville plays, Bluebird Puck is up, and it's a one way to get updates on what's going on in the game. But that's a good one tonight going on. Edgewood and Oregon. I mean, you're looking at 2 Edgewood skaters, Menzel, and is it Wybush or Weebush?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Those 2 guys, can put up a lot of points as well. And Oregon just is that top line, just fills the net constantly. So they're playing at LeBon right now. And I agree with you, Junior. I'd love to know what's going on in that game right now.
Speaking of past games, though, on Thursday last week, Northland Pines and Tomahawk were scheduled. Does anybody know if that game was played? I see on our thing, it still has a game time. Nothing's been entered for it.
Usually Northland Pines is good about, their Twitter account and keeping that stuff up to date. But I look for it.
It might have been canceled.
I look for it too, Del. I couldn't find it.
and stuff. And that's the one thing. If you happen to see that your team score, isn't posted after 24 hours, and if you know the score, and you got a Twitter account, go ahead and shoot us a score information, and we can at least get a quick score up, even if we don't have the stats. That could always get in a little bit later.
That
Just so
game
we
was
have a result.
postponed.
That game was postponed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, there's why we're not finding anything. It was postponed. But I had somebody talk to me last week about box scores that we have after games. You have teams have 24 hours to load it. The home team does, and then after that, the visiting team can. I have teams saying that a person told me that scouts go look at that box score, and if you got players that may be on somebody's radar, you may that's something that people may want to do is get the live scoring, either live score it or get it up on the site that night, because there is people that are looking for players for the next level and they want to know what they're doing. So, can promote our kids and do that, but it's going to take a little work. There we go.
So, any thoughts going in? We're actually any holiday tournaments coming up that we need to get information for.
If you have a holiday tournament, please send us the bracket and the schedule.
You figure we're only 2 weeks away from hitting that holiday tournament time.
It's nice that we can look at the schedule and see that you're playing against TBD, but it'd be even nicer if you sent us the bracket beforehand.
TBD has never won or lost, have they?
I'm sure that somewhere over the last 10 years, TBD is down for a win or a loss. I'm sure somebody has scored a game against TBD.
Especially when you talk about those, who you're going to play, or even, especially if you got the times, that always helps.
Even
Get
just
the times on.
Just having a tournament bracket does like half the work for us.
Yep. Okay, guys, you got anything else you want to comment about? I didn't get any good tournament stories from like youth hockey tournaments.
Well, that's because most people don't
Turn the show off after they get the top
they
six.
don't want to incriminate themselves. All the good stories, they don't want to say out loud because then people will know them. Like, sure, the other 5 parents who are in the room with me know that I did that, but nobody else needs to know. That's the kind of stories nobody wants to tell.
I do want to send a thank you out to Andrea Chaffee from the Culver's Cup High School Tournament, offering to make sure that the scores and stuff get sent to us from the tournament this upcoming holiday season.
Does she run MIA and Hartmeyer and them?
MJ, you're asking the wrong person here.
Oh no, I'm not. Come on, you know that. I think she does.
I'm lucky to know what I'm running, and that's when I'm driving down the road.
All right, guys. It's Monday night. And everybody looks like they're about ready to go to bed. Anybody got anything else they want to say?
Nope.
Nope. Dell, you done? Dell's going for the Duck Dynasty look tonight, he told me. I think he was pretty successful in it.
I got my win on Saturday where Navy beat Army. Got a text from the oldest saying that he should be home from being deployed in about a month. So things went good this weekend.
Good weekend, no doubt. All right, for the boys, I'm Mike Hammett. Next week, we'll be right back here, same time, same channel. And hopefully you'll be along with us. So for the guys, you've been listening to This Week in Wisconsin Prep Hockey.